feel called to help fix struggling marriages, even though you are still struggling in your own marriage? Because I felt the same way. But it turns out helping other women fix their marriages is part of what made my marriage shiny and amazing again. And so many of the top relationship coaches around here, they say the same thing was true for them. In my free masterclass, Purpose, Prosperity, and Intimacy, How to Have All Three and Help Other Women Have the Same, I share the number one most important qualification for becoming a successful relationship coach. And I also share the number one indispensable first step for fixing your marriage and how to share it with another woman. And then I share why it is that our coaches, our relationship coaches, have an unfair advantage over other relationship coaches and counselors. And then I go step by step through our proven coaching curriculum and share why it's so effective for fixing marriages and empowering coaches. So if you've been dreaming about becoming a relationship coach, come to my free masterclass, Purpose, Prosperity, and Intimacy, How to Have All Three and Help Others Do the Same. You can register at lauradoyle.org/purpose. That's lauradoyle.org/purpose.
I used to be that girl that just really took care of herself, was so into her like self-care and in her world. And then I met my husband and I brought him into my world and it was a beautiful romance. And then I had my first child. And that was a big shift in my identity. I don't know if I was like ready for the identity shift. But I realized I was the one who was mainly taking care of the baby. And I started to wonder about that. And so that was like the first thing I noticed. And then the second thing is I had the second baby. And the next thing you know, I have two babies in diapers. And I felt like my whole life changed. I stopped working. I felt like I kind of lost the identity of who I was. And I started to feel resentful and didn't even notice the resentment building and building. And next thing you know, I completely forgot about myself, forgotten about taking care of myself. It just became about the kids. And my husband would come home and then it's like whatever he did was never enough. He couldn't make me happy because I just wasn't happy with me. I lost myself.
Welcome to the Empowered Wife podcast, where it's all about fixing your relationship without your man's conscious effort so that you feel desired and taken care of and special, even if your relationship feels completely hopeless. I'm Laura Doyle, and today I'm talking about what to do when you don't like your husband. I'm going to share 3 surprising solutions. My guest Kim and her husband were getting divorced. It was decided, and she didn't see that changing. But then Kim decided to focus on herself and practice the 6 intimacy skills. And her husband called off the divorce and told her, get this, that she is the love of his life. They barely even argue now. And she's going to tell us how she did it so you can do it too. But first, let's talk about what to do if you don't like your husband. I want to tell you these 3 surprising solutions that you can experiment with. I still remember feeling this way early in my marriage, like, what a mistake I made. I married the wrong guy. And I am so unhappy because of it. Now I'm stuck with him. But I'd be so much happier if I could divorce him and find the right guy for me because he's not it. And I was suffering. That was very real. And, why even try to save your marriage if you don't even like the guy? It's very demotivating to think about spending the rest of your life with someone you don't even enjoy. You may have good reasons for not enjoying him, like maybe he's abusive, or maybe he's so neglectful and he's abandoned you, or maybe you just think he's just kind of a loser pants like I did. Maybe he's caused you a lot of pain. You have your reasons. So I'm in no position to tell you to just suck it up and start liking him again, right? Because I couldn't do it either. I wanted to get divorced. So it'd be even more hypocritical than usual for me to say, well, just try to like him again, you know? No, it doesn't really work. But what I can speak to is how to avoid the embarrassment of divorce and how most of the things that I didn't like about my husband that were causing me to suffer, they were not even so much about my husband, it turned out. They were about how he was reacting to me. You know, he got a lot more appealing once I figured this out and figured out how to be my best self a lot more and also bring out the best in him. So now I like him again and I don't have to try at all. I mean, I like him a lot. He seems great. So here are three ways to manifest an appealing, attractive, exciting husband quickly. And this, I'm talking about the man you have already. So the number one way is to use the most powerful intimacy skill of all, the most powerful. So let's say he's annoying or he's pathetic or scary, and you don't like that, right? Well, I get that he is those things, but he also is likely doing some things to lighten your load, to make your life better. Maybe he is doing carpool runs. Maybe he makes dinner sometimes. Maybe he takes the trash cans out to the curb or maintains the car. You know, there's things that he's probably doing that you could show gratitude for. And I know if you're anything like I was, I'm like, I don't want to thank him. I already do everything. And I remember I had a student once where I invited her to this exercise and she felt the same way I did. And you may be feeling too, which is, I am not going to do that. But she decided she would just experiment, even though it didn't seem like a great idea and it didn't feel very comfortable at all. So we came up with that she was going to thank him for working hard to support them. And so she got up her nerve and she said to him, you know, thank you so much for going to work every day to support us and then coming home to me every night. So she actually thanked him for two things right there. And she was shocked when he turned around and said to her, of course, I go to work every day and come home to you every night because I love you. She was like, what? That had been missing from their relationship for a long time. And here, just expressing gratitude one time brought that back. It was a big thaw in the ice for them. The second way to manifest an appealing, exciting, attractive husband, meaning the man you have, is to get happy anyway. One of the things that I wasn't liking about my husband, John, is that he was not making me happy. No, I was very unhappy. He wasn't doing his job to make me happy. It really seemed like it was his fault that I was so unhappy. But it turns out it isn't possible for him to make me happy, especially I was very committed to my misery because that seemed familiar. I was just kind of used to being unhappy. I know it sounds crazy when I tell it to you now, but at the time, it just it just seemed like what the way things were. I was unhappy because I was unhappy, and there was really not too much I could do about that. But it turns out it's an inside job completely, as you already know. And I just didn't know how to make myself happy until I started doing at least three things a day for frivolous fun. Just because they make me smile, they make me feel good, they make me happy. It could be a nap or a walk, certainly playing volleyball. I was just out sitting in the sun, sipping a tea, just getting some vitamin D on my person, just because it felt good to do. So, and it turns out once I was happy, everything and everyone around me seemed so much better. Like John, he just seemed a lot more appealing. and attractive and exciting once I made myself happy. The third way to manifest an exciting, attractive, appealing husband, meaning the man you already have, is to ask yourself, what were the reasons you chose your husband? What were the reasons that you decided to marry him above everyone else on the planet? Let's talk about that. I remember I had one student who said, "Well, he had a truck and I liked his long hair, but now he shaves his head and drives a Honda." So she felt like she had nothing to, that list didn't produce anything for her that would make her husband more attractive or exciting or appealing because he was no longer those things. But then she decided she would dig a little deeper, and she remembered that she really loved the way he was so determined to woo her and how he had continued to be so loyal and determined to woo her ever since, even though she had been on the fence. She realized she kind of liked that about him. Now, nobody's saying you have to start liking your husband if you just don't. But I am saying that since you're pretty smart and accomplished and wise, I don't think you would have married the guy that you're with if he didn't have some amazing qualities already. And maybe you were noticing all the ways that he was making your life better back then. And maybe you were even appreciating that about him. So if it was more enjoyable for you to see the best in your husband, then I invite you to experiment. Or you could just do an experiment with at least one of these three solutions for you when you feel like you don't really like your husband. I have exciting news for you because right now you can listen to my book, The Empowered Wife, for free with your Audible membership in the United States. So discover the 6 surprising secrets to attract your man's time, his attention, his affection when you listen to the Empowered Wife audiobook on Audible without using credits. You don't need any credits. It's free. The Empowered Wife has over 1,700 5-star reviews, and it also has some 1-star reviews too, because not everybody is ready to hear what they can do to fix their relationship without their man even knowing about it. And I get it. I wasn't ready either until my marriage was completely falling apart and we were on the brink of divorce. And then I learned from women with happy marriages what actually works. And now my marriage is shiny and amazing. And those secrets are in this book. And you can listen to the whole book for free with your Audible membership. The only catch is that this Audible deal is only for a limited time. So to make your marriage last and thrive, go and listen for free with your Audible membership right now. My guest Kim and her husband were getting divorced. It was decided, and she didn't see that changing. But she decided to focus on herself and practice the 6 intimacy skills. And her husband called off the divorce and said she's the love of his life. They barely even argue now. She's going to tell us how she did it so you can do it too. Kim, welcome to the Empowered Wife podcast. So excited you're here.
Hi, Laura. I'm excited to be here too.
So let's go back to the beginning. What was happening in the bad old days?
Well, let's start from the bad old days. Here's what happened. So, as I thought about this, I was like, I used to be that girl that just really took care of herself, was so into her like self-care and in her world. And then I met my husband and I brought him into my world, and it was a beautiful romance. And then I had my first child. And that was a big shift in my identity. I don't know if I was like ready for the identity shift. But I realized I was the one who was mainly taking care of the baby. And I started to wonder about that. And so that was like the first thing I noticed. And then the second thing is I had the second baby. And the next thing you know, I have 2 babies in diapers. And I felt like my whole life changed. I stopped working. I felt like I kind of lost the identity of who I was. And I started to feel resentful and didn't even notice the resentment building and building. And next thing you know, I completely forgot about myself, forgotten about taking care of myself. It just became about the kids. And my husband would come home, and then it's like whatever he did was never enough. He couldn't make me happy because I just wasn't happy with me. I lost myself. And I think this can happen a lot with moms, and me not earning my own money. It just, and then COVID happened. And so it all added up. And I noticed, like, no matter what he did, like I said, he just couldn't make me happy. So he started coming home later and later, and then I became more resentful. He would come home later. Next thing you know, he was sleeping in a separate bedroom. And it was like we were two roommates. And then the fighting was so bad. It was really, really bad, very disrespectful. And then all of a sudden, I remember there was a 3-week period where I felt something different inside of him. I noticed an energy shift. And this is a woman's intuition. It's a gut feeling. And finally, I decided to meet him at the door when he was coming home. And he was surprised to see me at the door. And I said, "Hey, is there anything you want to say to me?" And there was the longest pause. He looked at me, and that pause, Laura, already told me something bad's coming. I just felt it. He looked at me, and I saw it in his eyes. And he said, "I'm just not happy anymore." And my whole world just crushed. Just telling you right now, I can feel that. I felt like something had just taken the air out of me. And I went into fear and panic mode. And I asked him, "What do you mean you're not happy?" He's like, "I just haven't been happy for a long time. I don't even know if I want to be married anymore." I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. What is happening here? And so for the next 3 weeks, I became fearful, clingy, begging him, "Don't do this. Do not do this to the kids." I think my biggest fear was to repeat what my parents had done. I was a child of, a product of divorced parents, and I did not want that for my children. That was the last thing I ever wanted for my baby boys, and I felt like I'm failing them. I felt like a failure. Um, I didn't know what to do. I begged, and the more I begged, the more upset he got. The more he pushed me away. It's like I didn't even recognize my husband anymore. Here I was, this woman that he absolutely adored and loved. How did we get here? How did we get here? How did this even happen? And so then I said, "Let's go to counseling." And then he just blew up on me. That was like the thing that we're not supposed to say. But then I said, of course, now I know. He got so angry that he then moved out. And by week 4, I said, "Hey, I think I want to know where we're at." I mean, any woman in this position wants to know. She wants answers. I wanted answers. Like, what's happening? I was, and then he said, "Let's talk. I'm going to come over and we'll talk." And I don't know, Laura, just the way he said it, I already knew. I just knew what was coming. So we sat on the couch, and he looked at me with such sadness. It was Easter Sunday, and I'm supposed to go to my girlfriend's house and have an Easter egg hunt, okay? So he sits me on the couch and he says, "I'm 99.9.5% sure that I want a divorce."
Oh,
I can just feel it right now.
oh,
Yeah,
oh, such rejection.
yeah. Very painful to hear that. And you hear your kids in the other room playing. They have no idea what's happening. And I said, "Okay, I don't want that. I'm sad. But If this is your desire, then so be it.
You
And
just,
so, yeah.
you just, I mean, that was your response, just total acceptance at that point. You'd
Yeah.
already,
I think, I don't know. I just uttered those words. There was a piece of me that was begging for 3 weeks, and that's really not who I am. And when I found myself doing that, in the moment that he blew up, something inside of me changed. I was like, no more begging, just no more begging. This is not it. Like, I have to believe if this is what's meant to be, this is what's meant to be. And I want to be honest here and really transparent. When we were fighting and the battle days were before this whole situation where he announced he wanted divorce, I really resented him. I really was disrespectful. I I kept rejecting him and rejecting him. And there was so much shaming going on both sides. It all added up. I mean, I know I felt rejected on that couch when he asked for a divorce, and it hurt. But at the same time, I kept rejecting him this whole time, and he kept trying and trying, and I kept rejecting him. So, you know, I have to take that into consideration. I wasn't being my best self. And I have to be honest with you, I wanted that divorce. Secretly, I wanted a divorce too. It's like that moment on the couch on Easter Sunday was like my manifestation came true.
wow, Kim, that's amazing because it's so, you're so accountable, first of all.
Yeah.
Really impressed by that. But also, what I hear you saying is it's kind of impossible not to experience what you've been focusing on. Part of you had been focusing on a divorce.
Yeah.
This was your secret desire.
It really was.
Even though it was so incredibly painful and heartbreaking, and you felt like a victim in a way when he said he, but
Yes.
there was also part of you saying, yes, now I can, and so I can blow up my life because I'm so unhappy. Is that why you secretly wanted it?
I didn't know any other way. I don't know if anybody knows there's another way. I think a lot of us are walking around here thinking divorce is the answer. I mean, my mom's been married 3 times. I mean, it's like when things don't work, you just break it off. You divorce, you walk
Yeah.
away. This
Yeah.
is what I was taught.
Yeah.
But
If you're not happy, it's
yeah,
his fault and he wasn't making you happy. And
yeah,
what are your options?
yeah, that's really what it comes down to. So I thought, wow, this is really happening, and I kind of wanted this. But that day that he told me he was 99.9.5% sure, um, I managed to pick myself up and put myself together, and I still took the kids to the Easter egg hunt. And I don't even know how I managed to drive there and be there, but there were so many women there that I shared. They're like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "I'm a little traumatized right now. My husband just asked for a divorce." I go, "Well, when?" Like a half hour ago. Wait, what? And you're here? I'm like, I have to be here because I have to be strong for my kids. They need this. And so a lot of them embraced me that day, and I cried in their arms and I was held. This is the beauty about women. We just really come together. And these strange women, some of them I didn't even know that I just met at this Easter egg hunt, were embracing me and holding me in my pain. Um, so that's
Vulnerable. You were so vulnerable that
right.
day.
You know what? Yeah, I guess I was.
And
Yeah.
that they found that appealing, attractive. They wanted to support you. That's
Yes.
beautiful. Uh,
So after that, I came home and I was like, wow, I'm going to be a single mom. This is it. I have to prepare myself, right? I started to get mentally strong about this and preparing for this divorce. And it was weird that he wasn't living here anymore. I just couldn't believe all this was happening. It was just so weird. So what happened was about a week later, I looked at my oldest son and I saw the sadness in my child. This child is the light. And when I saw him so sad, I knew he was experiencing trauma. he can feel what was going on. And that's when I made this decision. I have to fight. I have to fight for my family. This can't be the end. This can't be the end. And I remember that same week, Laura, I was sitting in front of my window crying. And I asked this question to like the universe. I said, why is this happening? And I kid you not, this voice said, because you're not grateful. And I was like, what? What do you mean I'm not grateful? You have to be more grateful. What else do you need to lose to understand the power of gratitude? So that was the weirdest thing that happened in that week. And so then that's when I realized I gotta save, I gotta do something. I gotta do something. And so I Googled how to save your marriage from divorce. I think that's what I Googled. And then you popped up. And I went through all your podcasts. I went through every single thing and devoured it in like 2 days. And what happened was I found hope.
Oh my gosh, this is a powerful story, Kim. You said, why is this happening? And a voice said, because you're not grateful.
Yes.
And you thought, what else do I have to lose to understand? And you got it. There was an insight. You got an aha moment that
Mm-hmm.
you might not have had any other way, it sounds like. That
Yeah.
is amazing.
Yeah.
And then you took action, you Googled, and now you and I are talking about this. So I am so impressed. This is a great, I mean, what a great story. You were open, right? I really hear like a big listening because that's a rude message. You're not grateful, but you heard it in a different way. You heard it in an empowering way.
Yes. It gave me chills. Like the whole body had chills and I was slumped over crying, and all of a sudden I sat up just so erect, and I believed it. And then I found you in the same week, and then your book started talking about the power of gratitude, and I was like, okay, this is like the synchronistic moments that are happening. I'm being guided here. I'm being guided here. um
Yeah.
yeah.
I, I, I also hear your determination, like finding the hope, right there. You had a 0.5% chance, basically, of staying married. And you're like, I'm doing this. So I hear the Rocky theme music, kind of playing in the background. And I love that too. Like you were determined. So yeah. Okay. So what happened?
So I started reading your books. I was sitting by the pool and I started to realize, oh my gosh, the whole self-care. Yes. I remember being that single girl that just really did herself and made herself happy, and how I lost that piece of me. And so I started to incorporate the self-care, and I started buying myself outfits and dresses. Um, I, doing my hair again. I mean, really going out. Like I haven't even gone to Sephora in ages. And I went back there and I got makeup. I didn't even wear makeup anymore. So I started putting makeup on, started wearing earrings again, putting perfume again. And just, I think I just was walking around with so much hope that even one of my girlfriends has said, what's going on with you? Like, honestly, you're getting divorced and you're walking around so happy. She's like,
And
what's
beautiful
what?
and,
Yeah,
and made
yeah,
up with earrings and
yeah,
dresses too. Yeah.
yes, I
Yeah.
did. And being not having guilt, I had guilt taking naps. I had guilt taking care of myself. Like what's going on? Why was I doing that? But I started to going to the pool. I started taking naps and having zero guilt, going to the mall and deciding, okay, I'm gonna be my best self whenever my husband shows up to see the kids. And I made sure that I had a very, very loving and safe environment for him when he would come in. There was never like a stink eye. There was never
Wow.
any talks about anything. I just was very kind, very loving. It was a very safe environment for him to come into the house and play with the kids. Because, here's the weird thing. I was getting so many advice from a lot of my girlfriends. Oh, pack up his stuff and tell him to get out. Pack up his stuff and throw it out the door. And none of that resonated with me. None of that felt good in my heart. It just did not feel right. And so I followed my intuition. And of course, when your book landed, it was like, okay, this is not the way. And so the one thing that I looked at was the skill of respect. And you really don't know how disrespectful you are until you really read the book and realize, wow. So I was like, I was struggling to do it. And I think because I had so much pride and ego. And I was like, oof.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But it's like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it because it's the right thing to do. And I can see how I was wrong. So one day he got into the car. We were going to go pick up the kids at school. And I said, hey, do you have a second? I just want to tell you something. And I was hesitating, Laura, because it was so hard for me to do this and to be vulnerable. And so I apologized. I did the all-encompassing apology for being disrespectful to him. And I named all the different ways that I was disrespectful. And the look that he had in his face, his eyes watered. And I realized, oh my gosh, this guy has been deprived of dignity, of respect, of just the basic necessities for a human to thrive. It's like you say, it's his oxygen. It's everyone's oxygen. We need respect. We need dignity. We need to be loved and appreciated. And I was depriving him of that. And every time I rejected him or complained of something, all he saw was, I'm not enough. I'm not enough. I'm not enough. How can anybody live in an environment like that? And so, yeah, his eyes watered. And I knew then that was like the moment where I realized, wow, this is powerful. This is powerful. And so from that moment on, every time he came home, I was my most happiest self. I gave the smiles, but I was honestly filled up because back in the day, I wasn't filled up. I expected him to fill me up. And when he tried, it's just the black hole. It was like, nothing could be filled, nothing was enough. And so now that my cup was full and I'm overflowing with happiness, any little thing he did, I was so grateful. And that was the thing. I was never grateful, like we just mentioned. I didn't appreciate anything. And so I started to appreciate him and be grateful for everything that he did. There was so much that he was doing. He's an amazing provider. And you just don't see that. When you're in such a low vibration, you just don't see that. So I started to just continue with the skills. And within 2-month period, he started to come back home.
What?
Mm-hmm.
The
Yeah.
guy was 99.5% sure.
Yeah.
He started to come home within 2 months. So it was Easter, and then it's like 2 months later, and now.
Yeah, he came back one day. And, here's the thing, too. I thought he was going to just show up with everything at the door and be like, okay, I'm back. It was not like that.
Oh, shoot.
Here's the thing. It was gradual. It was gradual. Like he, would show up. He would stay longer with the kids. Instead of like the 1 hour, it started with him coming just for 1 hour twice a week. And then it started to like stay for 2 hours. And then I would in dinner and he would say no. It's like he still had this wall, to be honest with you. There was this wall. It's like how we protect our hearts. He was protecting his heart. So he sees this new version of Kim showing up. He's like, I don't know about this.
Yeah.
How real is this? Like, it's too good to be true.
He was suspicious, right? A little suspicious. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who can blame him? It's pretty
Yeah,
different from how you'd been showing up before.
exactly. So yeah, then he stayed 2 hours and then he stayed 3 hours. And then then he invited me to the park to go with the kids. Now, I was never invited on any of the outings. If you were to take them out, I was never invited. That kind of hurt, but
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I had to be okay with where he was. And so patience, and trust. And so then he invited me, and I graciously accepted. And we went on an outing, and I was like, wow, that first time we all went out as a family was another pivotal moment for me.
Were you
We were
secretly
all,
like
yes, yes,
jumping up
yes,
and down? Like,
I
yes.
was. And there was this moment where we went to this jumping house, this jumper place, and we were all jumping and having fun. It's like I had this moment where I said, I did this.
Oh,
I did this.
yes. Yes, you did
This-
that.
Yeah.
You changed everything.
I started to change things. Yeah. And then one day he called me, said, hey, do you want to do dinner? I can bring dinner over. Now, remember, he was denying my dinners. And so I said, absolutely. And so he bought our favorite dinner and we all broke bread together here. And the weirdest thing was he started to cry. I've never seen him cry. He said, I'm sorry that I blamed you for everything.
Oh,
I never thought I would hear that. I never expected it, nor did I need it because I knew what I had done. I knew how much I hurt him. I hurt him deeply.
must have felt good to
And
hear it though.
I did. You know what? It did. It's like he needed to say it too. And I didn't say anything. I didn't even say anything. I just said, I hear you.
Oh,
I hear you.
wow. Using the
Um,
skills at every turn.
yes. Those 6 skills they're alive. They're a living energy. And women, it's not like something that you just learn and you read, it's an embodiment
Mm. So you can't just
inside of
read it
you.
and then
And you
you
become, no. Here's the thing, you're going to read it at first and you're going to do them, but something happens along the way where you become them and they become you and you become one. And that's where the magic starts to happen.
so they're just in your cells and they
Absolutely. They become a piece, part of your DNA.
wow. So now when you were the part where you're saying just patience, it's only an hour, you're never invited to the park, like that part of that phase of things,
Yeah.
where did you get those patience? Or did you feel like the skills had already kind of taken you over?
The truth is, those moments hurt. You're going to feel sad. But I think a piece of me is that helped me get over those moments was there's a big piece that I believe in being accountable and responsible. Like
Yeah.
I think I have an understanding of what I created
Yeah.
and the pain that I had caused. So it would it wouldn't be loving if I got upset with him for that. Like I had to give him the space that he needed to heal,
It just seems like an
still healing at the same
incredible,
time.
yeah. Yeah, but it just seems like an incredible awareness to have through that pain, right? I think when you're in a lot of pain, you just want the pain to stop. So it's that level of accountability is very impressive. It's mind-blowing.
Yeah.
And
Mhm. There was other things that would see, there was other things that really would upset me. And here's the thing. I would see him on the days that he was here, but on the days that he wasn't here, I didn't hear from him. Now that was hard.
very
That
hard.
was harder than the times that he didn't want me to hang out with him. It would put me into this ugly place, ugly turmoil. And I would call everybody. I'm like, I don't understand. So then what happens is like you hit this like plateau and you want everything right away. You're like, okay, I've been doing this for a while now. So where's the whole package? I want that now. And so did I hit that piece? Absolutely. When did I hit that piece? Around the 6 month mark.
Okay.
Because so many, when you start the skills, you start to see so many things happen so quickly, so rapidly. And I think it's just because they're so deficient and so deprived, like that you see progress, you see a lot of progress. And then all of a sudden, there's a plateau that hit. And that plateau is because it's now time to go deeper with the skills. There's a deeper transformation.
Wow.
Now the focus is not about getting him back. The focus now has to be about healing you. This is about you and your transformation and you becoming an empowered woman. What does that mean? It means not being a victim. It means taking accountability and responsibility for everything that you feel. And so I wanted to blame him for my resentment. Now, this is where I was plateauing. I still had the resentment. Okay, so I've been doing these skills for 6 months. I've had so much progress. Why isn't he 100% back to the house?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm getting really upset now. Okay, I'm
Yeah.
going back to my old self.
Oh, yeah. But that's so frustrating, right? Because
Yeah.
it was only 2 months. Like you're 4 months into him kind of coming back, but
Yes.
he's not all the way back.
Yes.
And so now you're having to be like,
Ooh, ooh, this was the hardest part for me. And I remember getting coaching around this because, gosh, yeah, that was the controlling piece of me that has always been there my whole life. And so what I realized was I had so much resentment towards him. And I realized something that when I wanted to blame him. I was the queen of blaming. I'm going to project and I'm going to be the queen of blaming. I was so good at that. And I was so good at being a victim. But I realized I've been like this my whole life. Whoa, ouch. That does not feel good. It's
ouch.
a hard
Yeah.
pill to swallow. But you need to take a hard look at yourself in order to heal. You have to deal to heal. And so um, the one thing that I had to do was release the expectation. And I want to be really real here. I was not good at that. I want what I want and I want it now. I want it yesterday. So
Yeah. Yeah.
that was really,
So I've
really
already
hard.
been waiting for a while. So
Yeah,
yeah.
it's been 6 months. Like what's going on now? Why are
Yeah.
we stuck?
Yeah.
Why are we stuck in this place? And what I come to realize is that this is an energetic vibrational world. This just is like, and I think if you can understand that this is an energetic vibrational world, it's going to get easier for you. It's going to click because it's all within you. It's not what you do, it's who you are. It's not what you do, it's who you are. And so the resentment piece was coming from, there's always envy underneath that resentment. Well, why was I envious of him? Well, it started with back in the day, I had the 2 kids and he was always gone. He got to go, he had the freedom. And I was home with the kids and I was home alone. I was doing all the work. And, men are different than women, right? Like the way they care for children is so much different than women. Why can't I be like that? How can he be like that? And I'm resentful that he's like that. And I'm envious that he could just be like that. And I would think that he didn't care. It's not that he didn't care. He's a man. How he does things and how I do things are just different. And just because he doesn't do it my way, he doesn't love my way, doesn't make him wrong. So the other thing I had to realize was, well, when he's not here, you're still feeling resentment. So that resentment is
Ah,
inside of me. It's me. Yeah. Yeah.
make your head explode, probably.
Yeah. Wait a second.
Okay.
On the days that he's not here, I'm so pissed and I'm so resentful. Whoa. Wait a second. This is within me. Yeah, it's a trigger, but what I realize is there's a need that needs to be met. Underneath it, there's a need, and I can't make him or anybody be anything different than who they are. They can't meet my needs. I have to be responsible to meet my own needs. So what do I need? And that's what I love that question. How do you feel? What do you want? When I started to feel angry and resentful and started to go back into the expectation and the blaming, how do I feel? Go back on my paper. How do I feel? What do I want? What need am I not meeting? And so, and I knew I had to be accountable, responsible to meet my needs. And that was the practice that I had to do. And the other thing I realized was I still was not accepting him for who he was. I could not accept him. I could not, I judged him for not coming back full time. I'm like, wait a second. He's having his cake and eating it too. Like, this is not okay. And so then I started to go into this story of I'm not owning my worth by allowing this. And just that right there just shows you how much control I had. Just that sentence, right?
Yeah.
Me, like, what? That sentence just says it all. Wow, Kim, you have a lot of control there. You are allowing this. You have no control over anybody. Um, and that was a habit of mine that was not easy. I was afraid to accept him because I had a story that if I accept this situation and if I accept him, that I'm never going to get what I want. I'm always going to have pain and I'm always going to suffer. And by accepting this, I felt like I'm condoning this. And then I linked it with my self-worth and my deservingness. If I accept this, then I'm not owning my worth. That was the biggest thing that I had to disconnect. I was connecting my self-worth and my deservingness and my lovability to the circumstance. But here's the thing, and this is why I say this is an energetic world and a vibrational world and the power that we have, because if I kept resenting him, holding him hostage for his past mistakes, then he was never able to free himself from that version. Because whatever you resist persists. And so that was the piece I was holding him captive and stuck in this version because one, I couldn't accept it. And two, I had all these beliefs about him. And so nobody can show up. Everything that's on the outside is a reflection of what's on the inside. And it's like, I'm angry. I'm upset that you're showing up this way. But what I didn't realize was that my beliefs created this reflection of him, this version of him. And so when I was finally understanding the power of the self-fulfilling prophecy, I really, that was the one I really kind of was like, But once I like, whoa, he cannot show up differently if I can't accept him for where he is. I had to get over the fear that by accepting who he is, showing up as right now, that it was going to stay like this forever and I was going to forever suffer and I'm never going to have my dream life and my life is over, right? It's like the fear
Yes.
takes you down this
Yes.
dark.
Yes.
That is a lie. And number two, judging him, holding him for his past mistakes, and choosing to believe in the negative aspects of him was only keeping him captive. And I could not heal this marriage or create a new version of him or the marriage if I continued to hold those beliefs. They had to go. So I had to make a choice to forgive,
Wow.
to forgive and to accept him, because that is love. That is love. And by not, I realized he was mirroring me when I showed up with resentment. He felt that. I was very hot and cold, and I was always jumping on the fence. I was so good at that. Oh my gosh, I was really good at jumping on the fence. I think I jumped on the fence every other day. I was like, oh my goodness, it's not working. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and I realized that, oh my gosh, like he can feel this resentment. And so, and I have to be really honest with myself. Were there moments where you were talking negatively about him just with yourself? Between my 2 ears, when I'm alone, what do you really think of him? What is the energy? What are the words? What are the beliefs? Are they negative? Are they full of resentment? Because trust me, he can feel that. And trust me, I was showing up that way. I was talking that way. I was walking that way. I was being that way. And he can feel that.
So he couldn't
And it
really
was
get into the door.
no wonder he wasn't coming back 100%. And then I was resenting what I was creating. Then I'm resenting him again. But it's like, but I'm holding him hostage like that. But I'm the one who's doing this.
Wow.
And this is when I say it's an energetic world. It's our energy. And it's like, it's not what you do, it's who you are. It's what's going on inside of you. What he's reflecting exactly what I'm being.
So how did you get rid of, or how did you change the things that were going on between your ears?
One thought at a time. It does not happen overnight. And I have to be honest with you. It was work. It was a lot of work. Every time, it's like you have to make a choice. I made a choice that I was going to be respectful. So when I made the choice to be respectful, I'll be honest with you, in the beginning, it was like just to get him back.
Yeah, of course. Of course. That's how I started out too.
Yeah,
I just
yeah.
wanted my husband to straighten up.
Yeah.
So, and that kind of was working.
It worked. And then the plateau hit, and it's like, you really have to transform. This version of you that you've been your whole life is not going to get you where you want to go in life. It's just not. So that's the piece of where the skills go deeper and deeper and deeper. And so I had to make a decision that I want to be a respectful person. I
Wow.
want to be a dignified person because I want to show up differently. For me, I want to be more loving. I want to be more compassionate.
Wow.
It's like I'm ready to be this next level version of myself. And so that level of accountability and that standard, I made it higher.
Wow.
Did I always hit the mark? Absolutely not. But I have to give myself grace and compassion. And that's the piece. In order for me to get to this high level, I have to give myself grace and compassion because I'm not going to hit the mark all the time. I'm going to be triggered. I'm going to go back to myself. I was teeter-tottering. I was going back and forth. But it's a choice. That it's a choice. And you have to choose that choice over and over and over again.
Over and over and over again.
Yes.
And so, and each thought, you're rooting out each thought. So you would catch like a thought in your brain, like, "Ah, he's he just gets to go and have fun, and I have to do all the work." Something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, that one thought was, I can't believe him. He thinks he can do whatever he wants. He thinks he can come
Oh,
in and
that's
out whenever he wants. Oh, he thinks he can have his cake and eat it too. Okay, no, Mabel. Okay, oops.
yeah.
Kim, you are, this is what you're creating. You're reacting, and every time you react, it's like an imprint into the universe. You just recreated that. You just recreated. So I would say cancel, cancel, cancel.
I love it.
Cancel,
I love
cancel.
it.
Deep breath. I am responsible. I am not a victim. I am the creator of my own reality. That's what I would. My own reality. What are you choosing? What do you want? What do you choose to believe? And so I would choose the new belief. I would choose my new spouse fulfilling prophecy.
What
And
was your
it
spouse
didn't,
fulfilling prophecy? What was it?
he really cares. He really loves us and he wants to be home with us.
Oh,
And
beautiful.
when you choose them, they don't feel real
No,
in the beginning. It feels like
no.
the flat out lie, but choose again. You just keep choosing and you keep choosing and you keep choosing and you keep choosing. And next thing you know, the universe is bringing you all this evidence of your new choice. And that's when that moment, when I started realizing, oh my gosh, it was me. It was me. It's like I freed him to be the different version.
Wow, to be the man who cares and wanted to come home.
Yes. And
Yeah.
and cares about us and prioritizes us. And I used to say he's not a family guy. I married a man who's just not a family guy.
That
Wow.
was, yeah, it was your spouse fulfilling prophecy
I
before.
had a lot of them. I had so many of them. But when I switched them and I kept choosing them and choosing them and choosing them and letting go of the resentment and choosing, letting go of the resentment and having gratitude, like the mix of those, it was a beautiful concoction of magic that started to happen.
It does feel like magic.
It
I love
really
that.
does.
Yeah, yeah. So, and you didn't know you had a spouse fulfilling prophecy when you were saying he's not a family guy. You thought that was just the facts. That's just
Oh,
the way it is.
oh, I had the evidence.
Yeah, all kinds of evidence, reams of evidence, right?
Oh, yeah. But I
Yeah.
didn't know that I had created the evidence by choosing that spouse fulfilling prophecy. Like, and we so want the evidence to come first, and it doesn't work like that. And
Yes.
that's the faith piece.
Yeah. And choosing your focus. So, what kind of guy is he now? Are you married to a family guy?
I'm married to a family man. We
What?
just went to Legoland. He sent me this okay, it's like this okay, let's talk about this because this is so amazing. He we went to Legoland. He just sent me a text and it showed the hotel and we went for 2 whole days. And here's the other belief. I thought he never had time for us, that he was always going to choose his business over us. And now all of a sudden he's making time for us. And the one thing that we used to always do was have Sunday fun days. And then those disappeared. And we didn't even have those anymore. Now things happen gradually. The Sunday fun days came back. It didn't all come back in one moment. But now I get flowers every week. He comes, or every other week, he'll bring me a bouquet of flowers. Like, and now
Same
he takes
guy?
same guy. He takes
Okay.
my car out and puts gas in it. Every week. I haven't put gas in my car for 5 months. I hate putting gas in the car. He takes the car and puts gas in it.
Your
Uh,
hero does it for you.
yes. And like the other day, I was gonna go on a play date with the kids, and he just sent me money. He Venmoed me money. I was like, "Hey, this is so weird. Did I just got a Venmo from you?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, you're going on a play date. I want you to have a fantastic time."
So sweet.
Yeah, I just said I would love. Oh, I said I would love to go to Disneyland, and he's never gone, and he would never go. He said I would never go. It's the worst place. I'm like, well, it's supposed to be the happiest place on earth last time I checked. But I thought it was so funny that he got so worked up over my desire, but I didn't take the bait. I just let him express himself. And I just thought it was really funny. Next thing you know, we're going to Disneyland.
What? You went to Disneyland?
We went to Disneyland. And so all these things that he said that he would never do, he's now doing. And the biggest miracle came was a year later, after the Easter Sunday, that he said, I'm 99.9% and a half percent sure I want a divorce. And remember, I went to the Easter egg hunt, just devastated. Well, an exact year later, my girlfriend invites me again back to her house for another Easter egg hunt a year later. And I said, absolutely. So this time we walked through the gates and the same people are there. And this time my husband is walking, holding my hand.
No way.
Yeah.
No way. And the same
And
people that held you while you cried and sobbed.
yes. And they were all in shock. You should have seen their eyes, Laura. Their eyes were like, wait a second. Wait a second. Yeah. And I was smiling and I was like, hey, how's it going? And then one of the moms pulled me over. She goes, is that your husband? I said, yeah. What happened? I said, I swear to you, this is what I said. I said, Laura Doyle. She's like, what? I said, Laura Doyle. We'll talk about it later. This is exactly what I said.
It's like you're like a victory parade. Like you're taking a lap, really, right? Like, hey,
It was so wild. And I only had 0.5%. And that's all you need for miracles to appear.
oh my
It's
gosh.
just, can you have 0.5% of faith and hope?
I mean,
Because that's,
if you're going to be as determined and like committed and focused as you were, Kim, then yeah, I guess it's enough, right? It's enough. You're proof. 0.5% is all you need. But it just sounds like a miracle. And they are mirroring that back to you. The women at this party, right at the egg hunt, are like, how is this possible?
yes,
This doesn't seem possible to us.
exactly. And because some of them had gone through their own divorces. Yeah, exactly. So, but you have to do the work, and I always tell people that your marriage is a reflection of the woman that you become.
Mm, mm.
It's a reflection of the woman that you become.
Yeah. And yeah, in any circle of women that you interact with, like at that egg hunt, you are going to run into women who have gone through a divorce, and that's hard too, right? You say you got to do the work, like they were doing the work of seeing their kids every other weekend or whatever, dropping their kids off to the other woman or separating all their finances and all that stuff. And you were doing a different kind of work and you got a different kind of result, which
Yeah.
is, yeah. And I mean, you must have felt really proud when,
I did. I just thought it was so wild that it was like a year later, exact 1 year later, that this miracle happens. And I end up in the same place with a different version, a different story, a different probability. There's so many probabilities available to us, so many different realities. Which one am I going to choose?
yeah, this is
What
amazing.
story? Yeah.
So inspiring, like super inspiring. How long did it take him to come home? Because I know that's a question a lot of women have when they're in your situation that you were
two
in.
years.
It did.
Two, the whole, yeah. And I'll tell you why. Because the first couple months, he was coming back a few days. And it took 2 years because I was on the fence that long. It took so much work for me to understand that it was me that was creating this. That resentment piece had to go. And it was not easy for me. It just wasn't. And I had the expectation and I had a high level of control. High level of control. And I think it's not a time thing, it's an energy thing. It's how willing are you to let go of the control? How willing are you able to release the expectation. Expectation is a bait. The timeline is a bait. You got to let go of the timeline. And I was not good at that. I have to be
No,
honest.
I'm not good at that either, letting go of
No?
timelines. No, still to this day, I'm an impatient person.
Yes.
I have my
Yeah.
expectations too.
Yes.
So, I mean, I just am kind of curious, like, yeah, what kept you going for 2 years?
Okay. There was many times where I was like, I'm just done. I'm just done. You know how many times women have said that? I'm just like this. I feel like, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
because deep down inside, I had an intuitive knowing that it's me. I just knew it was me. I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. And I knew I needed to be healed. And here's the thing, about a year and a half into this, there was a letting go where I didn't need him to be home.
Mm.
And that's when the shift started to happen. I didn't need him to be home.
You-
There was such a need to fill this void of safetyness, like I didn't feel safe. And I had to heal this. There were so many stories and meaning attached to that and anxiety. It was like it wasn't time because you haven't healed.
wow.
And this healing is not about the marriage. It's about the woman that I was for so many years, for decades. We're doing some big transformational work here.
Yeah,
This is not about just the marriage. This is about you, who you've always been your whole entire life. So I could have gone to therapy for 20 years. There's people who've gone to therapy for 20 years and haven't gotten this far.
no, no, I agree. And
So
how long have you had been practicing the intimacy skills?
I would say we're coming on we're coming on 2 years.
Coming on 2 years. And so he's just home recently.
Yeah,
Yeah. How long has he been home?
couple months.
Couple months. How did it change things for you when he came home?
Here's the truth. I real I realized there was a deeper level of work when he came. You know, there was a deeper level of work. Um, well,
That
here's the
that's a
thing.
whole other level of the video game, right? When he's
Well,
home.
because now there's always work to do. I still get triggered. Now that he's here more, no, he still stays at the hospital a couple nights. Okay, he stays at the hospital and he works there. And he stays the rest of the nights home. But we made that agreement because he works late at night. But here's the thing that brought me peace was I just wanted to hear from him on those nights. I just wanted on those nights that he wasn't here. Remember, I would never hear from him. He would
Yeah.
never call me, and it would
Yeah.
put me in a tizzy.
Yeah.
And I felt like a part-time wife, you know?
Yes.
And when I was able to meet my needs, when I was able to feel safe and secured and empowered and not blame him for my anxiety or for my lack of safety, when I was able to heal those things within myself, that's when he started to call every day and multiple times a day. He called me already 3 times a day.
Today he's called 3 times already.
Already, yeah. Then he started calling me at night.
Wow.
But I had a story that he's not. He's not, and this is what I would say over and over again, like a broken record. I what I would say, he doesn't care. He's not calling. He disappears on those days. I kept my words have power. My words create my reality. They create my world. But see, I didn't understand the power of our energy. I didn't understand this is a vibrational, energetic world. I didn't understand that. So I'm blaming him for what I'm creating and
Yeah.
resenting him. So yeah. Um, I
So
got
does
okay.
did he call you 3 times today because you told him to call you?
No,
No.
because I
Why?
let go.
Because you let go. So he's seeking you out.
Yeah, I don't need it anymore.
Right, but
I had
he wants to talk to you.
yes, it switched because I wasn't, yeah, I didn't need it. I didn't need it to feel safe, to feel secure, to feel loved. I think sometimes we want things because we want proof that we're lovable, that we are enough. This is what we want,
Yes.
right? But
To
when
ease
you
that pain of rejection, right? Like, was there
right,
anything, have you ever been through anything more painful than feeling rejected by your husband? I mean,
no, but I think I was,
childbirth, maybe? I don't know.
oh, well, yeah, that one's another one. That's another story. But I
Yeah.
think I rejected myself. And I think when I wasn't accepting him, I wasn't accepting myself.
Yeah. That's a, that's an incredible insight. And I think it's one, like, I know sometimes I'll get that and sometimes I'll lose it. Just kind of like what you're saying too. Like sometimes the illusion seems really real. Like everything I'm experiencing, this seems like the facts. And then in moments of great accountability and awareness, I'm like, oh yeah, I did this. This is what I've done.
Yes, I did this, but I think the most beautiful part was not him coming back. Here's what made me the happiest was not even about him coming back, was that I didn't need it anymore. Was that I no longer needed it to prove that I was good enough, that I was worthy enough, that I was deservable enough, that I was safe, that he loves me. It's like I want proof. I want to feel safe that you care for me, that you love me. But I needed a proof for a story that I created. It wasn't even the truth. So I think on on the 2 nights that he's not here, that he stays at the hospital, I think I feel so at peace, and I hang out with the kids and we go out with other moms. I learned how to be happy and
Wow.
not need him to make me happy.
So you sound like you're a new Kim. Like just Kim has changed a lot in this process. You sound very confident now.
Yes, Kim found her power.
Yeah.
Kim found her power. Kim found herself again. Kim now knows that anything is possible.
So it's almost you make it sound like it's not possible. Like of course your marriage has to be good if you are living in that space. Like finding your power. Of course you're going to have a good marriage because you're in your power. Is that right?
Yeah, and what I mean, yeah, when you are in your power and you're not being a victim, when you're taking full accountability for what you feel, when you take full accountability for all your emotions, when you take accountability for making yourself happy and meeting your own needs, whether it's safety or I still feel safe, I mean, I'm feeling, insecure, I'm feeling afraid. When you can take care of those things, because it's really you who's creating it, it's not the other person, it's you.
Yeah.
And you realize that you can't change anybody and only you, then that's when you stop leaking your energy and become extremely confident and magnetic.
Yeah. Yeah. Confident and magnetic. So that's who you've become. You're confident and magnetic now, and your husband has to call you 3 times a day, sounds like.
Yes, my goodness. Now he just wants to talk all the time. And it's like, wait a second. Here's what starts to happen. Then he comes home, and I'm so used to doing him and doing what my routine, right? Because I had to learn how to make myself happy again and do my self-care. Sometimes I just want to do that, and he'll just come on in and be like, "Hey," and you're just like, "Oh man, I just want to do this right now," but because because you don't need it. You don't need it anymore. You're so filled up that they can feel that.
There's no desperation.
There no clinging, no desperation.
No
It's like,
begging, no, none of that.
no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
It's
your
like,
natural magnetism is just drawing them in.
yes, I'll go to a separate room and do something and he will follow me there. You know, it's like, wait, what's happening over here? You see? It changes. There and you know what? They can feel that too. It's like something just shifts. And so him coming back home more days, except for the 2 days that he's still out. And that wasn't like the miracle. The miracle really was me feeling so safe and secured and happy and full and not a victim. That is the biggest miracle that comes
Yeah.
from doing the work.
Yeah. Well, congratulations. It's incredible what you've done, the miracle that you experienced by choosing your focus so wisely. I just love it. How do you think this affected your voice?
You know, the whole time they never knew because I just kept telling them, well, you know, daddy has to work extra hours. He has to stay at the hospital longer. You know, there was never a negative thing said about their father. Never, ever,
Wow.
ever would I ever hear
Never.
that because that would destroy their self-esteem because they are half of their father. If I put their father down, then they're going to feel abandoned and they're going to feel unlovable and they're going to feel like there's something wrong with them. I would never ever do that. And and so they're happy, they're confident. It didn't, like I told you, the trauma started to happen. I can see it in my son. And I was like, no, 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 no. This is not even about me anymore. This is about them. This is about all of us, all of us. And so my boys are thriving. They are happy. They're full of light. The life is back into my oldest son.
Oh,
Just and the joy of their father and seeing them. And they get their father. They get their father. They get to be with him. They get to jump on the bed in the morning and crawl all over him.
oh,
And that's because it's the work that we do as women, the strength that we find within ourselves and in
yeah.
community, with the community, with all these other women. We do it together.
Yes.
Together we rise.
Yes. Yes. Wow. Well, I love that. I want to hear your tip for a woman who is where you were, where he's saying, we're getting divorced. He's moved out and he's not in contact with her. He's avoiding her. And she wants what you have now, where he buys her flowers every week and takes the family to Disneyland and to Legoland. And he follows her around into the other room because she's doing something else and he just can't get enough and has to call her 3 times a day. What should she do? What's your best tip for her, Kim?
Like most women today, I'm going to repeat it. You got to focus on you. You have to understand your energy says it all. It's extremely, extremely powerful, the most powerful force on this planet. So focus on you, on being the happiest version of you. Fill your cup up, fill it up, fill it up. And second thing that I wanted to add, slipping my mind, but there was something important I wanted to say is evading me. Well, hopefully it comes back. But okay. Oh, when you're not seeing the evidence of what you want, understand that what you're calling in, this new version of your reality of your marriage, because this marriage could be anything you choose it to be. Absolutely. It's not connected to your past, nor is it connected to your current circumstance. It's not connected. So a lot of us think, well, look at my current circumstance. He wants a divorce. He's not even calling me right now. Stop reacting to that because you're going to recreate that. Let it go. What you're choosing to be a match for is what is it? What is your magic wand? What is that vision? How does that vision feel? Now choose it every single day, regardless of what the current circumstance, because it has nothing to do with it. So let the current circumstance, let him talk all that stuff. Men say a lot of things that they really don't mean. So let it go. Do not give it meaning. We always want to give every single evidence that we see a meaning. And then we want to connect it and make it evidence to an old spouse fulfilling prophecy or to the way it is. It's evidence and it's not changing. Stop looking for the evidence that it's not working. Stop saying that. Watch the stories that you say.
Yeah.
Yes, your story has power. Your story can keep you stuck in the past and recreate what you don't want. Let it go because the vision is completely 1000%, not even 100%, 1000% available. And if you already have the vision, that means it's waiting for you to be on board with it. It means it's waiting for you to choose it, to stop choosing what you see right now in your current reality, because it means absolutely nothing.
I love that. Like, choose your vision, get your magic wand out, wave it, step into that vision, be a match for that because it's waiting for you.
Yeah, and be the woman who would have that vision. A lot of us are
Yeah.
continuously to be the victim, the woman who sees the evidence of what she doesn't want of her current circumstance. I became, so when the first 2 months were happening, I became that version of me, like almost before I got married, that like, voila, girl, I became her again. And within the 2 months, he started coming. Just a couple days, just a couple days. But then it took me a year and a half. I know I said 2 years, but it actually took a year and a half. So I want to correct that. It took actually a year and a half after that moment for him to come back and to spend more nights with us because I went back to choosing that fearful version, looking at my current circumstance, looking at the evidence of that it's not working. So I stopped being a match to that vision with my magic wand. And that's where the deeper work had to get in. I had to go deeper and deeper. And then I became a match to that vision again. And now we're here. So that's what I would tell her. It's kind of long what I just said, but gotta stop looking at the evidence. You gotta stop saying the same story over and over and over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Because the story that's keeping you stuck and not allowing you to step into that next version of what the marriage. That vision is real. It's already alive.
I love
It,
that.
it's alive. It's alive. If you had it, it's because it's ready for you. Choose it.
And what would you say to yourself if you could go back in time and tell you what you know now?
Let it go of the fear. I think I would tell myself, accept him for who he is. Accept the situation. Because it could not morph. By accepting, I was able to move into a new reality. I couldn't do it. I would go back into say, Kim, focus on yourself. Trust the vision. Be a match for the vision. Let go of the fear that you're going to suffer and never, ever, ever, ever have the marriage that you want if you accept this circumstance, if you accept who he is right now. That's what I would tell myself because and let go of the story that if you accept it, if you accept what is right now and you accept him as he is showing up right now, that it means that you're not good enough, that you are not worthy, that you're not honoring yourself, that you're not respecting yourself. Because that's where I got stuck a lot. I would tell her that, and I would tell her everything you've ever wanted will come true.
Hmm.
but you can just be happy now.
There
And you can
wasn't there wasn't suffering on the other side of it. There's not suffering.
absolutely not, but it's going to take however long it's going to take.
Yeah.
You,
Yeah, and
everyone,
it sounds like you needed that time, right? You needed that time.
I needed it. I needed it. I'm so glad it didn't happen sooner because every single woman is different. We all have different backgrounds. We have different traumas that we have to heal. We have it. It's an array. I needed that. For some people, it happens in 6 months. Mine was incremental. The first 2 months, boom. And then the next 6 months, more. And then it stopped. And it took another year from that 6 month mark. But I needed that year to go deeper into the skills and
Yes.
embody them.
Yeah. Yeah. I can relate to that. Well, your story it's so impressive. It's so mind-blowing. I feel like, those women at the egg hunt that saw you walk in holding hands with your husband, like now everyone that's listening to the podcast is having that same experience. Like, how is this possible that you could do this? But you did a great job being so authentic with us and so honest. And I want to congratulate you and present you with my Best Wife Award because you deserve this. You have
Thank you.
done an incredible job fixing your whole family. What you gave to your two sons, with them being able to jump on their dad in the bed in the morning or whatever. Like the whole thing where all of you are together and happy at Disneyland, at Legoland, and just in the everyday is I mean, I think it's something that every mother wants to give to her kids. And I think you've also given your husband what, every wife wants to be for her husband, right? The respect that you've restored. And you've also just been an inspiration on this show for every woman who might be stuck in this situation you were in, feeling rejected and resentful and like she's under the threat of divorce. So I just want to congratulate you and thank you so big for all that you've done.
Laura, thank you. I received that. And I want to thank you and the community and all the beautiful women that helped me because I couldn't have done it by myself. I couldn't have done it by myself. Thank you for the work that you do. Thank you for your gift. You're healing the planet. I can just go into tears right now because I am so grateful. Thank you.
Beautiful. You're making me cry too. Well, Kim, this has been a joy. Thank you so much for sharing your beautiful story.
Thank you.
According to a study at Harvard, and this was horrifying to hear, if you know a couple who's getting divorced, you are 75% more likely to get divorced too. Woo! It matters who you listen to, which is why over 7,000 women like you who think that having a great marriage is important have joined our free Adored Wife group. The Adored Wife group is a launch pad where you can meet our certified coaches and discover the best next steps for making your marriage last and thrive. It's 100% free to join. Just go to lauradoyle.org/group right now. This is a private group and it's not for everybody, but if you are a wife or girlfriend who thinks that having a great marriage is important too, we'd all really like to meet you. So go to lauradoyle.org/group right now to join us free. That's lauradoyle.org/group. Listen and subscribe to the Empowered Wife podcast. On next week's podcast, we're answering the question, do trad wives have better marriages? Traditional wives? We're going to discuss. In the meantime, I hope you're having lots of fun. Today's fun fact is that John and his brother were excitedly talking about how cool that would be. And I was like, how cool what would be? And they said, to get a pie in the face from Mo of the Three Stooges.